Have you ever stared at a name on a hospital visitor log and felt the world tilt off its axis? The nurse had just left my room at Northwestern Memorial, the air thick with the scent of antiseptic and stale sympathy after my accident. I'd been pinned between two cars on Lake Shore Drive, a mess of shattered bone and torn metal. Ow. But the real wreckage wasn't my body. It was a single name written in my wife Sarah's familiar looping script on the sign-in sheet from the day before. Mark, my best friend. He wasn't supposed to be in Chicago. He was supposedly on a business trip in Miami. A cold dread, colder than any morphine drip, seeped into my veins. Why would she lie about that? The question hung in the sterile air, a ghost I couldn't yet see, but could feel with every broken rib. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The first few days after I came home were a blur of pain medication and forced smiles. Sarah was the perfect, doting wife. She fluffed my pillows, brought me meals, and recounted her lonely nights while I was in the ICU. But her eyes never quite met mine. The lie about Mark was a splinter in my mind. One night her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She was in the shower. I'd never looked through her phone before. Trust was the foundation of our 10 years together. But trust had a fracture in it now. The message was from him. Can't stop thinking about last night. You were incredible. My breath hitched. I scrolled up. It was a sewer of secrets. Photos of them in our bed. Texts planning a future, discussing how my insurance payout would be the perfect seed money for their new life. They'd been at a hotel, the Peninsula, on Superior Street, the night of my accident. I was bleeding on the asphalt. They were celebrating. The humiliation was a physical force, pressing down on me, stealing the air from my lungs. She walked back into the room, wrapped in a towel, a serene smile on her face. Everything okay, honey? You look pale? Her performance was flawless. She became colder, more distant, a master of manipulation. Any question I asked was met with a sigh, an eye roll, the insinuation that my medication was making me paranoid. Mark is your best friend, John. You're imagining things. You need to rest. The gaslighting was so complete, so confident I almost believed her. They grew bolder, feeling untouchable. I'd hear them on the phone, her voice dropping to a whisper, punctuated by soft, sickening laughter. They thought I was a broken man, a pathetic invalid trapped on the first floor of our Lincoln Park brownstone. And for a while, they were right. He's just so fragile now, she said, her voice dripping with false pity. It's like living with a ghost. Don't worry, baby. It won't be long. That was the moment the grief inside me finally died, and something else. Something cold and hard was born in its place. The broken man was gone. A strategist was taking his seat. My recovery became my cover. Every physical therapy session, every painful step I took, was fueled by a singular purpose. I started gathering proof. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who operated out of a dusty office in the Loop. He wired our house for audio and video. I bought a second phone, a burner, and began documenting everything. Every text, every call log, every whispered conversation became a file on a secure hard drive. The Pi got me hotel receipts, credit card statements, and photos of them kissing in a booth at Gibson's Bar and Steakhouse, looking for all the world like a happy couple. I contacted a lawyer, the most ruthless divorce attorney in Chicago. We didn't just plan a divorce, we planned a demolition. We set up a new trust, and I began legally moving my assets. Every penny I had earned into it, leaving our joint accounts barren. The trap was being set, piece by meticulous piece. The day of the public execution was our 12th anniversary. I told Sarah I had a surprise for her. I also invited our families and closest friends to our home for what they thought was a celebration of my recovery. I even invited Mark. He arrived with a smug grin and a bottle of expensive champagne, patting me on the shoulder. "Good to see you back on your feet, buddy," he said. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. When everyone was gathered in the living room, I stood up, leaning on my cane for dramatic effect. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice steady. "Sarah and I have an announcement." I looked at her. Her smile was radiant, arrogant. She thought I was about to reaffirm our vows. Then, I turned to the large flat-screen TV above the fireplace. But first, a little trip down memory lane. I pressed a button on a remote. The screen flickered to life, not with family photos, but with a high-definition video. It was them, in our bedroom. The audio, crystal clear, filled the dead silent room. Sarah's face went from shock to horror to a waxy pale mask. Her mother gasped. Mark looked like he'd been shot. I let the video play for a full minute before turning it off. The locks on this house will be changed in 1 hour, I said, my voice devoid of all emotion. Your belongings are in trash bags on the curb. Mark, our shared business venture is dissolved, and my lawyers will be in touch regarding the embezzlement charges I'm filing. I tossed a thick folder onto the coffee table. Sarah, these are the divorce papers. You get nothing. It is all in the prenup you were so eager to sign when you thought I was worth millions. My lawyer has copies of all this. I gestured to the TV for the judge. She started to sob, a pathetic, theatrical display. John, please. I love you. No, I said, the word cutting through the air. You loved my money, and now you have neither. I watched as her world crumbled, as friends and family backed away from her like she was a leper. Mark scrambled out the door without a word. Her father, a man I had respected, just shook his head and walked out, leaving her utterly alone in the center of the room. She was ruined, socially, financially, and legally. The house is quiet now. Sometimes at night I walk through the empty rooms and I can almost still hear their whispers. I won, but it doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like a graveyard. The only thing left is the silence and the ghost of the man I used to be. It's the end.